Good morning, good morning. I'm Anita from Ocean Coaching for your wave of inspiration and continuing my theme of speaking to really inspiring, amazing ladies. I'm today having a chat with the wonderful Emma Holmes. I'll let Emma introduce herself in a minute, but Emma is, she's my business coach stroke mentor. She's a lady that kicks my backside most days when it needs a good kick up the backside. And I want to talk to Emma about networking because Emma's business is predominantly online. Most of her clients are online. And in the theme of talking about networking, I really wanted to talk to Emma about her networking experiences, good, bad, and ugly. So I'm going to pass over to Emma. Emma, would you like to introduce yourself? Good morning. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning. Absolute pleasure. I'm going to put the dog down first, but she will probably come and join us again. I'm Emma Holmes. I am the founder of Rebels and Rockstars, which is a community of entrepreneurs who want to do business the right way. They want to do it in a way that feels good, that feels authentic and feels full of integrity. And I'm kind of head girl there and help and support lots of spiritual and heart-centered entrepreneurs do their thing. And I know that always sounds a little bit woolly because, you know, when you go a heart-centered entrepreneur, everybody would consider themselves to be good people. But this is people who want to do things that don't feel like business trickery, don't feel like securing sales through fear, don't want to make their crowd feel uncomfortable. And it's about bringing together a business that really fits their world, their life, and their client base.
Yeah, definitely. And Emma is absolutely awesome. She really, really is. And she's helped me a lot, a hell of a lot. So networking, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So what we're talking about today is actually getting out there, networking in the real world, face-to-face networking, because obviously that's so important for many businesses. A lot of business people think it's not for them, and a lot of people just assume that networking is a room full of people in suits selling and not interested in building relationships. And what I'm trying to achieve is, one, help people get out there and network with confidence, but also to show people that sometimes, regardless of what business you're in, just the actual getting out there and meeting other people in business is really important. So Emma, your experiences of networking in the flesh.
Well, the first thing that I want to say is that I think that we get really caught up in this online versus offline thing. And I think that lots of people are, I suppose, seduced into thinking that we have to do one or the other. So the first thing that I want to say is that you can be both an online and offline business. You can have connections and relationships with people in the real world and in the virtual world. And I know that, you know, both you and I have had relationships with people in the virtual world that have then become real life meetups and people that we then know in real life. So I think the first thing I want to say is that this isn't about choosing. It isn't about saying, well, I only go to real life networking events if I do local services or local things. Equally, you know, saying I only do real life because I'm local, whereas actually you could be doing lots of that online. I think it's a fusion, and I think that people fall into that kind of, I either have to be at home on my computer and just on the internet, or I have to just be out. So that's the first thing I want to say. It's a fusion. It's a fusion and it's a blend. And you can bring both elements into any business. You know, whatever your business is, you can bring both elements of connection and networking through. So my networking days, I was a lawyer before I owned a business. And lots of networking goes in with the legal profession, and it is a real kind of big thing. But it's also seen as your little skive. when you're a corporate, because you're not at your desk, you don't have to do all your work, the clients can't get to you. It's a little bit of a jolly when you go off networking as a corporate. And I did an awful lot of networking at that time. I did breakfast meetings, I did lunch meetings, I did evening wine and canapé kind of meetings. I learned to play golf on the firm. The firm paid for golf lessons because an awful lot of networking also happens on the golf course, and it was kind of a male-dominated environment, and there was lots of ways of actually securing more connections while on the golf course too. So I did have, a huge amount of experience in networking, and a very specific, I suppose, local network of who am I talking to and what am I talking about? And always knowing about that kind of degrees of separation thing, in that, you can be creating and making relationships with somebody who absolutely isn't the type of person that is going to buy from you, but they know, I think that the stat is something like, now that we're all online, we all have 400 connections. So now, I'm not great at maths, but if you talk to one person and they know 400 people, and each of those 400 people know an additional 400 people, and each of those 400 people know additional 400 people, if you are really focused in being able to explain what you do, you can soon have quite a big knowledge base for people understanding what you do. And I was going into the networking environment in a very different position to lots of my colleagues. So I was a family lawyer. So I dealt with the stuff when everything's hit the fan. So it was marketing a distress product.
Yeah.
So actually marketing a distress product is very difficult, because, people don't want you. People don't want to need your services. And equally, they either do or they don't need your services. So it's a very kind of different position to be in, as opposed to the people who could go along and, and wang off the benefits of making a will, or talk about, your corporate structure in your business, or whatever it might be. It was a very different way of approaching networking, because it was a distress product. It was a, if you ever need me, and I hope you don't ever need me, then this is what I do kind of thing. But again, remembering all of those additional connections that these people had. I think that going to certain networking environments, it was often quite difficult because of the type of work that I did. And I think that this is something that one can carry over into my corporate, from my corporate into my business, and that lots of people will resonate with, is that, you would get into these circumstances and positions with people that weren't necessarily a great fit for your business. And like I said, you either needed a family lawyer or you didn't. You hoped that you would never need that person. And, that was a difficult position to be in when you were in a room full of much more corporate-led business, much more kind of marketing services and finance services and all of these kind of other boots and suits that you would expect at these kinds of things. And that kind of continued into my business networking. And initially, I did quite a bit of real-life networking. I did get out quite a bit, and kind of honed my craft for speaking in the networking environment, of being able to get up in front of a room. And it's something that I've obviously always had to do, because you have to go into court and you have to speak on behalf of clients. I'm trained to be able to stand up and be heard. So it's something that I'd always had to do, but it's very different putting forward a client case and what they're telling you, and what, the facts and information that are being delivered to you, versus actually coming out there and talking about yourself. You know, there's a different edge to that. And I think that initially I did do quite a bit of marketing and honed some of my speaking skills in that arena by doing little talks at networking meetings, by doing little master classes, I suppose you would call them, at networking meetings, and attaching into using, I suppose, that forum to really get that skill set rolling a little bit more. I don't even know if I've answered the question.
Yeah, no.
I'm like a politician. I start and then I have no idea if I've actually answered the question.
I think a few points that you've kind of hit on there, definitely with regard to people that are networking in their employed roles. You know, they're kind of expected, especially in this day and age, to go out there and network more regularly. And a lot of them do see it as a job, but then equally, a lot of them do see it as an opportunity to sort of reach out and get more clients for their business, because it's good for their business, it's good for their brownie points at work. And, you know, with regard to speaking, I think one of the biggest things that I think is a benefit of getting out there networking face to face is the ability to learn how to speak and present yourself in your business, especially for those that are just starting out in business, or people that maybe have had a break from business. And obviously you and I both deal with a lot of ladies, we speak to a lot of ladies who have either made the leap from the corporate world into setting up their own business from home, or they've had a break, you know, because they've had some years off looking after their kids, and then they decide, this is it now, you know, I'm going to set up my own business, I've got this amazing idea and I'm going to get out there and make a living from it. And, you know, for both sort of areas, you know, people find it really hard to talk about themselves. They talk about their own businesses. They do find it really difficult. And as you said earlier on in the introduction, getting out there and selling what it is that you do is really hard. We're all really good, and it's something that I've noticed about myself recently. I'm really good at marketing, fantastic at marketing. I'm really good at going out there networking. But when it comes down to the finer points of actually selling what it is that I do, that can be really difficult sometimes, because it's so hard to, especially in our industry, to go and sell with authenticity and with conviction. But obviously in the networking world, building relationships, building rapport with others, that's where you then can sell your services without it being sicky, without it being too salesy. So I think you're definitely right there. Networking does help you with your presentation skills and with your speaking skills.
Yeah, and I think that when you actually look at networking as a crux of what it is all about, it's about personal brand. And whether that is you as a corporate in a firm, like I was in a firm of lawyers, you know, it is about you making, and something that I talk about all of the time, you know, it's about you making connections, and it is about that know, like and trust. So, you know, whether you are what you perceive to be, you know, a number on the telephone system in a corporate biggie, or whether you are a personal solopreneur, networking is, and whether it's online or offline, networking is about personal brand, and it's about personal connection, and it's about creating a connection with people in real life. You talk about the selling element, and I think that that's really interesting, because I think it's a very British thing to start with, because, you know, we don't show off and we don't showboat, and we don't, you know, we're not all about, you know, look at me and isn't this amazing, and I can do this, this and this and this, because, you know, that seemed to be boastful and arrogant, and we don't do that. You know, we're very British, and we're very reserved, and we don't like to tell people that that we think that we're amazing, because they'll just think that we're a bit of a knob.
Yeah.
So I think that that's, you know, a great element of resistance when it comes to selling. But we've always got to remember that selling is offering opportunities, and if we fail to offer those opportunities to the people that need them, then we effectively steal from them.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. And you're right, you know, getting out there networking, whether it is online or offline networking, It isn't about going straight into a room and selling, and that room could be in the real world, face-to-face networking, or within a group, for instance, if it's online networking. And it is about building those relationships, know, like, and trust, and people buy people, and that's the bones of networking and why it can work. With regards to the business that you're doing now, what networking have you done? If you haven't done any, why have you not done any networking?
I haven't done any for a while.
Yeah.
I do occasionally networking. I tend to do more when it's actually attached to speaking. I find that some of the regular networking groups become a difficult environment to spend a lot of time in. That there's an awful lot of clickiness happens within networking, and there's an awful lot of kind of them and us situations in networking, and that's about the group, and that it's all down to the group that you actually network within. But I think that it is something that I do come and go from, but it's not something that I have regularly in my diary every single week.
Okay. So the networking groups or the networking situations that you've been in, have they been more formal networking, sort of, with the ones where you are inclined to have to go on a weekly or monthly basis, or are they the more informal groups? And in your experience, what kind of thing do you think you would prefer? If someone said to you, right, Emma, you've got to go out now and you've got to network like you mean it, would it suit you in your business more to go to like the more formal ones where you are expected to pay an annual membership fee and you're expected to be there week in, week out? No, I didn't think so.
I think I might upset a lot of people around that table. Just thing. I think the thing is that I've done all sorts of networking. I've been to we'll all sit around a table and we can only have one person from each industry, and we can do this kind of handshakes behind the back and weird Masonic kind of things that go on within these environments. I've done them, and I've done the let's all just grab a brew and have a chit chat, and I've done them, and they all have their place, and they're all right for certain people. And I think that I quite enjoy networking from the perspective of getting out and having a chat with people and being around real life people. But equally, I have to work on the basis of whether it is a good investment of my time. Because we can all go to all sorts of networking meetings and tell ourselves that we're working, and actually what we're doing is wasting time effectively, because we're just spending some time with some friends and not really moving any further forwards with anything. So I tend to only do those networking events now that I tend to speak at. So I tend to be invited to networking events with a purpose, and they tend to be the ones that I do spend time with. And I know that networking is about making that investment, and it is about the long haul, and it is about those relationships that you make over a period of time. And I think that there is room and scope for me to do more networking, and there is the potential that there is a group already out there that would work for me, but it's a balancing act as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right there, and this is something that I speak about quite a bit when it comes to networking. There are loads of networking groups. You've got your breakfast meetings, and you've got your late morning latte, coffee, cake meetings, and you've got your lunch meetings. You've got your after hours evening meetings, all run by all sorts of different organisations, whether they're referral networking organisations or Chamber of Commerce, and local councils do them now. Banks have even started to do them, especially where I am. A lot of the banks now do regular networking meetings. And you're right, if there's anything that I think people can sort of gain from this conversation today, is it is about finding the right group for you and finding the right fit, so that you are in a group of people where you feel comfortable, so you're comfortable enough to be able to speak about your business and speak about your offerings and your services, but equally not spending every waking moment of your working day out there networking. And I know so many people that would literally go to the opening of an envelope when it comes to networking. And
some people think, how do they get any work done?
Exactly. And it is about, yes, it's about building relationships, but also fundamentally, the reason why you're going out there networking is to get more business, build more relationships, meet people that you're going to collaborate with. And if you're spending all day, every day, going to a breakfast meeting, then going to a late morning meeting, then a lunch meeting, then an evening meeting, and you're spending all day, every day networking, one, you tend to get a little bit of a name for yourself for being a serial networker or a hunter, which is really, really big no-no in the networking world. And networkers do talk. Among all the groups, they do talk. But equally, you're spending all your time out there networking. You can't then follow up because you haven't got time to follow up with people that genuinely could work with you. And also, you're spending every penny on going out there and having coffees and lunches and breakfasts, and not getting, you will not get the return from that. So I think if anybody's thinking about going out there networking, obviously it's about finding the right group, but equally it's about dedicating a certain amount of time that they can dedicate each week or each month, and finding almost like a home group that they can go to regularly and build those relationships.
Yeah, I think that the first thing is, one, be realistic with yourself, all right? Don't tell yourself lies, okay? I could go to a one-off breakfast meeting, but actually the logistics of going to a breakfast meeting are huge. You're a mum, I'm a mum, getting kids out to school on a morning. If you're ever away for a morning, the logistics of having to sort that out. And so, if breakfast meetings don't work for you, don't try and do them.
Exactly.
I would do a one-off, but I'm not going to do a regular breakfast meeting. I think it is about you making sure that you're not telling yourself lies and going, I'll go along to this meeting and then just sitting like a wallflower and not doing anything. It's about you going, actually, I'm going to commit to doing however it looks for you. And there's no right or wrong. However it looks for you, I'm going to commit to doing that thing in that way. And that's what I'm going to do. Or it's about, going out there and trying some on and seeing what fits. Because, again, it's not, it isn't a one size fits all. It isn't a, we can just go to this meeting because Sandra says that she's got 100 quid's worth of work from it last week. So we all have to be at this one meeting. It's about looking at what is going to work for you. It is dependent upon what you do. It's dependent upon you being really clear on who you help and how you help them. It's about you going along and going, right, okay, it might be really hard to come in that door for the first time. Everybody feels like that. I don't know many people who can rock up at a networking meeting for the first time and feel uber duper confident. Even the most confident of people have an element of, am I stepping into a fire here? Everybody else knows each other. It's like being the new kid. It's always like being the new kid whenever you go to a new networking. It's about giving it an opportunity and giving it a chance and seeing if it's a good fit for you. It's about whether or not you enjoy it. Because if you bloody hate it, that's going to be palpable and it's not going to help your business. So it's about making sure that what you do isn't just done for the sake of going through the motions and being able to go, yes, I've done networking.
Definitely. And I think, unfortunately, there is too much of that out there, especially at the moment, where I'm kind of honing a little bit more of my energy and time into networking again after having a couple of months off, or 5 months off regular networking. That's something that I found. You know, I was one of the most confident networkers out there for 6 years. Well, I wasn't always like that, but you know, once I got into it, and I enjoyed it. But having going back out there again into the networking world and visiting some new groups, I went to one on Friday, and it was, you know, I didn't have that stomach fear that I had when I went to a first networking group over a month ago. But I definitely felt not as confident, purely because I was going into a room with people that I didn't know, and you know, this is an established group, and they've known each other for a long, long time. Once I got in there, I knew what I was doing, and I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. But again, I'm kind of looking at networking as getting out and meeting more people, and you know, getting out there with local businesses so that I can help and support them, but equally so that I can help networkers network like a pro, you know, so they're actually not wasting their time or their money, because time's really important when you're in business. Mm-hmm. And there is no point, even though I love networking, and I say to the world and its wife, you need to be out there, especially if you're building a business, you need to be out there meeting other business people. But there's absolutely no point almost flogging a dead horse and going to a networking group that isn't the right fit for you, you know, or going to a networking group where they just make you feel so uncomfortable. And it does happen, unfortunately, where they are really cliquey and they do make new people feel uncomfortable, and you're not going to get anything out of it. And then there's that whole, you know, guilt thing, because there are women out there, especially women out there, thinking, well, I know I should be out there networking. And you're right, it is sort of a tick the box exercise, but networking is about longevity. Find that right group, build those relationships, and you know, and then the business will come and the support will come, because it isn't just about business, it's also about supporting one another. Mm-hmm. You know?
I think it's about being honest with yourself. I think it's about looking at what are your objectives for networking?
Yeah.
And what do you want to get out of it? Because for some people it is just about actually talking to people who get it for a little while. And that's okay if that's how you're going to dress it, you know, but make sure that you're not going along and wasting 2 hours of your life, because you've got to travel there, you've got to get back, you know, this is time that you could be making money. Yeah. So make sure that you're not using that as, you know, something that you're going along to just to go through the motions.
Mm. Yeah, no, definitely. And I think with networking, all too often that is unfortunately the case.
All right, keep going, I'm just throwing her out.
But that is often the case, you know, people are just going through the motions. And I've seen it myself before at networking groups of people that feel that they have to be there, they have to be out there networking. And you can see it's really uncomfortable for them. Equally, you know, I would say to anybody, if you are considering getting out there networking, just go, find a group. You know, I can help people with that, but find a group, get out there, go and meet some people and see what it's like. It doesn't mean that you have to do it every week. It doesn't mean that you ever have to do it ever again. But, you know, again, a common misconception out there, especially with smaller local businesses, is this whole networking is not going to work for me. Or when they go into a group, they look around the room at the different trades and professions that are represented and immediately think, that person, how are they going to recommend business to me? And it is about networking, is about not just selling to the room. It isn't about the people that are in the room, it's who they know. You know,
it's all those degrees of connection, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right, you know, when you go back to your past corporate world, you know, referring to a family lawyer is slightly more difficult than referring someone that can do social media marketing, for instance.
Absolutely, because you've got to 100% know that that's the right person, you know, for that friend, family, you know, to be involved with. And there was a particular financial advisor that I did a lot of work with, because obviously, you know, I would refer people to him because once, you know, your whole life has changed, you might need a little bit of financial advice and, you know, a little bit of help and support in setting yourself back up. And he would refer people to me, you know, if they were coming along trying to look at prenuptial arrangements and things like that. And it was only the other day that we chatted on Twitter over the MasterChef Parmo. This is how our conversation started together. There was a local lad from this area on MasterChef, and he created a local delicacy called the Parmo. And I'm sure that you're aware of the Parmo because you've got northeastern roots. It's a very northeastern kind of delicacy, I'm going to call it, culinary experience. We were talking on Twitter about it, and you know, we were kind of catching up, and they're connections that you keep forever.
Yeah,
their connection, you know, if you make positive connections with people, you've made that connection ongoing. You know, I haven't seen this bloke for neck end of 8 years. But we, you know, still that connection there. You know, I haven't actually spoken to him since in real life for probably 8 years, because I'm not in the same corporate-y kind of networking circles anymore.
Yeah. But they are. I mean, I've got people that I was in B&I with for 6 years, and you know, and I still class them as friends. There's people that have come and gone during my B&I time that I'm still friends with, that I still speak to, and equally that I still would recommend my clients, friends, family to. You know, so I've still kind of got that network, even if I'm not in that networking group anymore, because we have made those connections and there is the know, like and trust there. And I wouldn't want to go and find someone else to do some of the stuff for me, because I've already got those connections that are there. And as long as those connections are still working, you know, and there is still that element of, you know, kind of doing business together, collaborating, or them doing a good job. If it's service, you know, trades or service based, and I need them to do something, and I'm recommending them to my friends and family, you know, I mean, that's a huge deal, to actually be able to recommend somebody with conviction to people that you know, because it reflects on you if it all goes wrong, you know.
Yeah, because you sent me there.
Exactly that. Exactly. So what would be your top tip of the day, Emma, when it comes to people that are out there thinking maybe they should get out there networking and not sure, is it for me?
I would say that it works for every business, okay? I would say that it's about finding a good fit. I think it's about being clear on who you are looking to connect with and your purpose behind doing that. I think it is about making sure that you are combining online and offline in whatever way that you're doing it, because, you know, I think that we can create networking environments online that obviously have more of the right person in the virtual room.
Yeah.
I think it is about remembering that there are, you know, so many degrees of separation, and that everybody has an awful lot of connections. Don't do it just to go through the motions. Don't do it just to tick it off the list and say, I've been networking. Yeah. And, you know, look at your objectives and your business outcomes for it. And remember that, you know, you're building a personal brand. Whatever you do, you know, whatever label you're going to stick on your lapel, people need to know, like, and trust you to buy from you and to recommend you to their friends. And, you know, go there and be yourself. Go there and just try it out.
Just give it a go.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree. thank you so much for this morning. It's been really nice getting another angle on someone that's done networking in the corporate world and now has their own empire and their own business. And yeah, it's been really good talking with you this morning. So thank you very, very much.
My absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Emma.
Bye.